Thank you for tuning in to Autograph Academy. I'm Joe, co-founder of Autograph Analytics. And in this mini-series, we're going to cover how to create quick 5-minute marketing summaries using your GA4 data, plugging it into ChatGPT, and then generating some answers to common questions that you might get around how well marketing is doing, maybe coming from a GM or similar stakeholder. Now, one of the more common pain points with marketers that we speak with is the amount of time to actually generate these summaries. Especially if you are dealing with a lot of ad hoc inquiries from non-marketing stakeholders. So just the effort required with going into each of the platforms, pulling all that data out, combining it into one place, trying to find your insight, and then finally trying to summarize that in a way that hopefully it sounds good to whoever you're sending that to. Now, you can shave some time off of this process by creating custom dashboards for common questions that you might get, but potentially there is still a lot of time left there, pertaining to your situation, if it's an easy question or not, with going into the data, trying to find that insight, and again, trying to word it in a way that represents marketing well. Now, what we want to do is look at other possibilities of taking this a step further by building a prompt around your GA4 data. That prompt not only knowing what's in that data set, but also has its own logic and rules to generate the type of insight that we want and the type of summary that we want. So that if it works well, hopefully it'll take us 80 to 90% of the way there. Now, all of the prompts and guides that we use in our videos are available offline, and we definitely encourage you to use your own data, especially this prompt that we'll look at. Have a go with your own data and let us know what type of answers that you're getting, because there is definitely some room to tweak the prompt to your own individual needs. So one thing with this mini series, we will go pretty fast just to keep the length of the video short. So pause where you can and reach out to us for any other questions. But right now, we'll take a look. Now we'll take a look at the prompt here and brace yourselves. It is quite a long one. It does resemble more of an instructions file than an actual prompt. But essentially what this prompt is designed to do is take your marketing related question here, and then it'll scan your GA4 data for an insight and produce a summary that you can just forward off via email, or take some points off it and produce your own more condensed version. Now, there are a couple of sections here that we will cover throughout the span of the videos, just to show you how the logic here is shaping the type of insight and the type of summary that we are getting. But one quick note about this prompt here. So when we did do this, we didn't sit there and type this prompt out line by line, nor did we do much planning. This was actually an iterative process where we fed ChatGPT a simple GA4 dataset and asked us to give us an insight. And in the span of about 2 to 2.5 hours, we would make some suggestions based on what we saw on what a good insight is, what a bad insight is, maybe suggestions around wording. But aside from that, it created everything else for us. That actual prompt, the way that it's structured, the way that the summary flows, and it even gave us suggestions as to how to improve the prompt to get more of what we wanted. So definitely leveraging the power of the tool over doing the heavy lifting yourself. So once we go back into the prompt here, once you take all of this and copy and paste it into a GPT chat, it does have to follow 4 basic guidelines here. The first one being, make sure that marketing's value is clearly communicated in the summary. Make sure the responses are insightful, but also avoid any unnecessary data or details. This third one can be very useful for you the more that you refine it to your own use case. And it's all about handling potential objections that may come up when you are sending these out, if in the event somebody is misinterpreting something as a negative in the summary. So let me expand on that a little bit. What we're trying to get GPT to do here is scan your data and look for any questionable or confusing pieces to explain, false negatives, let's say, and build better talk tracks around those insights so that the insights that we send are more educational, they're more insightful, and we can avoid any potential misinterpretations later down the road, especially if you're emailing this out. It could save you a reply or two in those instances. Now, the last one, insights are grounded strictly in provided data. So very important, don't infer anything. This just helps GPT to not hallucinate when it's trying to struggle to find some insights in, let's say, a more of a limited GA4 data set. So we have our prompt here, and the question that we're going to use is how many leads were generated from our marketing campaigns this month? Something very easy to handle for this prompt. Of course, we can just go into GA4 and get these numbers ourselves and send them. But what we want to do is provide more context and color around those numbers in a summary that we can reuse over and over. Now, once we have those two pieces, all we need is the GA4 data. And fortunately, this GA4 data is very simple to get.
If we hop into GA4, there is a ready-made report we can download under Reports on the left-hand side here. And Acquisition, Traffic Acquisition. So this is a simple report that has everything we need, which includes this column right here, key events. So for this example, we are already collecting lead form submissions from the website using Google Tag Manager, sending that data to this GA4 account, and then we've toggled them as a key event, formerly known as a conversion. So there are many use cases for conversions, but for our use case, this just helps us isolate the important data, such as lead form submissions, outside of other things like VDP views, etc., that we are collecting as a pool of general events here. So if you are already gathering lead form submissions and toggling them as key events in GA4, you're good to go. You can export this and use the prompt. But if not, reach out to us and we can help point you in the right direction, at least for this piece, so that you can use the prompt that we'll cover, as well as others that we'll show in the tutorial. So note there are other things in this report that we can utilize later in ChatGPT to determine the quality of something, like leads, for example. So we have engagement stats here, engaged sessions, engagement rates, etc., that we can plug into another prompt in GPT to ask about things like the quality of certain campaigns or the quality of some channels or leads versus others. So for now, we'll just use this report as is. And if you have everything you need here, just go into this export at the top, share this report, download the file, download the CSV. And I'm just going to pull up the CSV here so we get a little familiar on the format of what's coming out of GA4. There's a couple of rows at the very top here that we're not going to use, but we do have this table that we are going to plug into our prompt to get our summary going. Now, what you can simply do is just take the CSV and drag and drop it into a ChatGPT window and get the analysis going. But personally, I've been finding a lot of errors when I am uploading CSV files lately to get an analysis. So what we've done as a workaround here is if you scroll down to the very bottom of this prompt, there is a place for you to paste your GA4 data. So we'll go ahead and do that now. I'm just going to take the table itself, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it here. And doing it this way, it's going to read the same way in GPT as if we just uploaded the CSV itself. There are some guidelines here also that this prompt can use to know like what's being uploaded here. So we do have the columns. We're specifying that it's GA4 data here. So we are good to go. We've got our prompt, we've got our question, we've got our GA4 data pasted at the very bottom here. So what we can do now is just copy all of this and then paste it into a GPT window to get our summary going. So if you go back to ChatGPT, we've pasted our prompt here and we'll take a look at the summary, but first we're going to take a look at how this prompt will be shaping our summary. So looking at our question again, how many leads were generated from our marketing campaigns this month? Very simple. You can take this single number from GA4, which is the key events, and then send that off. But what this prompt is trying to do is provide the end user with more context and talk tracks as to why something's happening. So if we are looking at lead sources and one is outperforming another, maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe it's a different campaign type, there's different goals, search versus social, etc., etc. But if both of them are performing similarly, maybe we want to emphasize the alignment between them. There's another section down here with keeping things relevant to a GM or non-marketing stakeholder. So anchoring the information to things that they understand, avoid jargon, and discuss things in terms of business impact with the results. So there's quite a few things here that we'll unpack as we go, but the point is this prompt or any other prompt that you make will take you most of the way there in one shot, the more that you refine it to a certain question. So we'll take a look at the results. And it looks like the most impactful thing we've found is that search is doing very well. The top two contributors of leads with paid search leading the way, and both have very high engagement rate. Some more stats here. Paid is adding 72% more in lead volume, so good job. Let's scroll down here. Some more whys as to why this is good. Paid search is performing as expected, capturing high intent traffic. Paid search and organic combined for most of the leads, so hopefully that's what this team was going for. And if we scroll down a little bit, there is a section here for current focus areas. So we're going to cover this part of the prompt more in depth, but real quick, in the prompt, there is instructions to find questionable pieces in the data and then preemptively address any concerns. So this is just something to help you with any follow-up questions. But this can also serve as a place where someone can use a guide to help improve certain areas here. So more on this later. If we go down here, bottom line for the GM, so this is just a quick summary of the results. Optimizations in paid social and referral strategies could unlock further growth. So this is great. We have some insights here that we can pick and choose for a summary, and all we did was plug in a question and upload our GA4 data. But just for fun, let's take a look at a very bare bones version of this prompt here. I'm just going to open up a new chat. And I'll put here, I'm an automotive marketer. I need a marketing summary using my GA4 data to answer. And this is our question here. How many leads were delivered in the time period of our GA4 report? I actually just copied and pasted this from the previous prompt just to let GPT know what's in the CSV file in terms of the columns. And then I will paste my CSV here. So I'm just going to pull up our file that we downloaded again. I'm just going to copy this. And I'll paste it here. I'm going to get rid of this preview. And we'll take a look at what comes out here. So it's more of a data dump, it looks like, versus the refined prompt that we were working with. And you might get wildly varying answers each time you ask this question because it's not as refined, it's not as targeted. But the point still remains that you do get some of the heavy lifting done in terms of sifting through your data to get an insight by just plugging in your GA4 data and asking your question in GPT.
So there you have it, a very high-level overview of how this prompt functions in creating a summary around a simple question regarding leads. Now in the next videos, we'll break this prompt down even further to see what we can change to answer other questions, maybe around campaign quality or conversion rates, or even involving inventory data to get some really cool insights. And hopefully by the end of it, you'll be able to take this process and create something for your own use case very quickly in ChatGPT. So as always, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you at the next video.